Well, if we're gonna find any ghosts, we better split up.
You're listening to Never Split Up, a horror movie podcast.
There are certain rules that one must abide by in order to successfully survive a horror movie.
Hi, everyone, and welcome once again to the Never Split Up podcast. This is episode 101. We are covering It Chapter 1, released in 2017. We're also covering It Chapter 2, released in 2019. It's going to be a little double review episode for you guys right before Halloween, right before Welcome to Derry comes out. We're all excited for that new show to come out. Ant, what's going on? How you doing?
I'm doing good. We're creeping up on Halloween, so it's the best time of the year. I'm thriving.
I wish I was thriving more. I feel like this season has been weird, like with the weather, and it's been really warm. And then when we do get a fall day, it's like during the week. I feel like a lot of the weekends have been kind of crummy. Me and my wife have been trying to do fall stuff for a few weeks, and we tried to go up to like Sleepy Hollow. We live, a couple hours from Sleepy Hollow. That didn't work out. And then, we went to the farm like to pick pumpkins and stuff, but it was like 85 degrees outside. So I really haven't gotten like that fall experience. There's definitely been some nicer, cooler days, especially this week and recently. Yeah. But I just wish it was a little more consistent with that stuff.
I'm just hoping it's like perfect weather on Halloween and not raining, because I'm like want it to be a party out there and I want it to be fun.
Yeah, it's on a Friday, so that's gonna be fun. I'm taking off work, so
I took off.
Well, it's our holiday, right? I have to take off.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to the holiday itself. The holiday is always a little like sad though, because it's like the season's coming to an end.
Well, it's never over for us, but I know you're saying.
I know. It's just the whole vibe, and I love trick-or-treaters coming to the door.
I just love it. I'm going to sit on my driveway with beers and just watch the kids go up and get scared, get their candy, and throw parents little, shooters or something and have a good time.
Yeah, I definitely have to maximize the rest of the season, though, this next, week and a half. So I'm going to start popping in more of the comfort Halloween rewatches that we do every year. Yeah. We're kind of behind on those. So, but it's been busy over here, but I'm thriving. So glad summer's over. We had some warm days here and there, but I think that's finally behind us. I'll take the cold weather, the cold front, whatever. And like you said, we're right in the thick of it. Like I said, Welcome to Derry is releasing, so we thought we'd cover these movies. We were supposed to cover It Chapter 1 last week. We had some difficulties scheduling that, so we had to push it back, and we wanted to get both of these out before the show released, obviously, because everyone's going to be talking about it. So just to guys kind of give you like a refresher. If you've seen the movies, you can, get a refresher from us. And it was fun revisiting these. I haven't watched these in probably, I don't know, a good few years. It's been a little bit. Yeah, it's not like I watch these all the time. So it was cool to kind of watch these. And I don't know if I've ever watched them back to back. I watched the first one over the weekend, and then I watched the second one over the following weekend, so it was almost back to back, and that was a cool experience too. When's the last time you watched these? Has it been a while? I know you adore these movies.
Yeah, just watched them a few months ago.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Pretty much back to back, so it hasn't been too long for me.
I'm not saying it's like a bad thing, but I mean, combined, it's like almost 5 hours. The two movies, so it's a dedication to watch those.
See the thickness of that book, though. The book is super thick.
I know. I know. Yeah, I think that's what turns a lot of people off, especially It Chapter 2 approaches that 3-hour mark, and for a horror film, that's like very ambitious. So I understand it's got some haters, especially Chapter 2, but I'm excited to hear your thoughts. I kind of know your overall thoughts, but we've never really dove into these films before, so that's going to be fun. Anything you want to cover before we dive into these movies, though?
I mean, if you guys haven't checked out our 100th episode on Hereditary, that was a really fun time. We had a really good discussion and got some good feedback on that. And yeah, we ran our polls for Halloween Kills and Hereditary, and Nolan, you won our Hereditary Never Split Up poll by 1 vote. And Phil, actually no, I won our Halloween Kills Never Split Up, the Sandra. So you won for Hereditary and I won for Kills. So good little split there.
Yeah. Thanks everyone once again for voting. And we'll probably just do like one moment for this episode. We're not going to pick 2 different moments, so we'll do that at the end of our review. And I'm sure we'll have plenty of moments to pick from, because again, this is a big tackle. We're tackling a lot of scenes, a lot of characters. So yeah, I'm excited to get in. Let's just dive right in then. Okay. Let's do the cast and crew and synopsis.
All right, I'll do you guys for chapter 1 first, obviously. All right, so the synopsis from IMDb is: in the summer of 1989, a group of bullied kids band together to destroy a shape-shifting monster which disguises itself as a clown and preys on the children of Derry, their small Maine town. It was directed by Andy Muschietti, and it stars Jaden Martell as Bill, Jeremy Ray Taylor as Ben, Sophia Lillis as Beverly Marsh, Finn Wolfhard as Richie, you have Chosen Jacobs as Mike, and scene sealer Jack Dylan Grazer as Eddie, and Wyatt Olaf as Stanley. And we obviously have Bill Skarsgård leading, the horror legend, leading as Pennywise. And we have a bunch of other supporting characters, huge cast in this movie. And this is the highest grossing horror movie of all time. Its budget was $35 million and it grossed $705 million worldwide. It's
Didn't
insanity.
it just get surpassed?
Not by a horror movie.
Really?
I don't. Yeah, no.
I thought that was in the headlines. Okay. Huh.
Maybe. It was The Conjuring Last Rites had a bigger opening weekend.
Bigger opening weekend, but not total. Okay, gotcha. Yeah, I thought I saw it somewhere in the news recently.
This one had like surprise. Like horror movies usually like do super good, and they kind of like don't have as much legs. But this one had like really staying power throughout the fall season. But I think The Conjuring's like made $500 million anyway, so that's crazy. But yeah, so this is a killer movie. It's the highest grossing, I think, one of the highest grossing R-rated movies of all time, and the highest grossing horror movie of all time. I know that doesn't equate to quality, but it says that this was a blockbuster horror movie. And do you want me to give the It Chapter 2 stuff too, or you want to just do like one and go the other?
Let's focus on Chapter 1. We'll just bounce around our favorite moments, what we want to talk about for Chapter 1, and then we'll introduce the cast for Chapter 2. We'll take it that way.
We have to, for sure.
Yeah, okay. Okay, great. Yeah, no, I mean, that really lends itself. Like you said, box office doesn't necessarily equal quality, but when you make $700 million, there was something that happened, like, in society to where people, like, it's word of mouth. Yeah, exactly. So people were talking about this film. I remember when it came out, it was just freaking massive. I mean, it was like your coworkers were talking about it, and like your parents, and you know, I'm sure your grandparents, if they were like clocked into the news, they were probably hearing about it. Bill Skarsgård was everywhere. I remember people were interviewing him left and right, like local news stations and stuff about his portrayal of Pennywise. And it was it's so funny because it almost elevated the original as well. Because like the original, especially among horror fans, is definitely an infamous movie. I mean, it's great. It was a made-for-TV movie, but it's left its mark, and Pennywise has left its mark. Obviously, it's a Stephen King adaptation. But I feel like when this came out, everyone was comparing the two. So I think when people were seeing this film, they may not have seen the original. Maybe they went back and watched the original. So I think this elevated the original as well, which is really cool to see because I like the original in its own way. I like this one in its own way. And I really think they did a good job of kind of honoring the original film, honoring the source material, and doing like their own take, like modernized take. I think this is almost like a blueprint of like how you do a remake of just like not going too crazy, but like leaving your own mark and doing your own style with it.
Yeah, for sure. I love how they both like can coexist so much and each be their own thing, especially when we like start talking about the Pennywise portrayals. But even like I grew up with the miniseries with Tim Curry and I adore it so much, but I love how that one has its place in my heart for what it was, but this one obviously is just clearly way more cinematic. I mean, this is a theatrical release, so it's just super cinematic, but they both have their charms in different ways, which is why I love that they both coexist.
Yeah, for sure. Why don't we just get into the film? I mean, we'll kind of, I guess, briefly talk about our overall thoughts.
Yeah,
I adore this movie. I thought it was awesome. Seeing it in theaters was amazing. The first few shots of Pennywise was so awesome. I don't really remember. You have a better memory than me, Anthony, like how much they really showed Bill Skarsgård in the trailers. But I remember specifically in the theaters being like so excited to kind of just see what he does with it, because they did give you, I think, bits and pieces, but not too much, or at least maybe I didn't watch it on purpose, the trailers. I don't remember. But I can remember in the theater being super anxious to see, like, if he pulls it off. And, you know, I knew what he looked like from the stills and stuff, but I wasn't sure how he was going to pull it off, and I was just blown away. I mean, the opening sequence alone was such a great way to... And obviously, they're taking it from the source material, but it was so impactful in the theater, and people were like holding their breath the whole time. Even though most people knew what was going to happen, it was like still that effective. So yeah, I mean, like I said, this is how you do a remake. This is how you kind of adapt something for newer audiences. They changed the design from the original film, but they has homages to the original series. The casting is brilliant, I think, especially in Chapter 2. That's like, it blows me away every time I watch these two films. I'm like, how the fuck did they like,
so good.
pull this off?
They're so good.
I adore the Losers Club, and I love them so much. I mean, I really cherish like these group of kids, especially the kid actors. The adults I love for different reasons, but these kid actors have so much chemistry, and you really feel like they're best friends. And they really like, you know, the way they bring in Ben as, you know, one of their own right away. It's just so heartwarming. So then when they are in peril, you really feel for them. And I think they really pulled that off. The directing is awesome. The cinematography is great. It's just a really well built movie, and it's really hard to nitpick. There's some stuff like maybe stylized choices, I think, more in Chapter 2 than Chapter 1, where they maybe go a little heavy-handed with it. But that's like me really searching for something to nitpick. I like this movie a lot. It's not like all-timer territory for me. It is in terms of like remakes. This isn't a movie, like I said, this isn't a movie I rewatch all the time. It's been a while since I've watched it. But maybe I need to change that. Maybe I need to watch it more often.
Yeah, I believe in the marketing, like, they teased Pennywise and they showed like bits and pieces, and we saw him, but they didn't show like a straight up scene, like a full scene of him. So, like, I remember they really teased the opening. They teased some scare sequences. They teased his voice. We never got a full on scene. So that was like the anticipation of like being in that theater was like, oh shit, like when's he coming? Like, let's see Pennywise. So I'll never forget that. I remember seeing this opening night. My parents came. It was a big event. Like, everyone went to go see it, and it was just such a good fun time. I grew up with Goosebumps and the Monster Squad, and this just feels like an R-rated version of those, and that's the way to my heart. This is like gateway horror at its best, so I feel like this ushered in probably so many younger little horror fans, and I love that. And I love that it's rated R, but this is another one where the whole family can go see, even though it's a rated R movie. I love that. I love bringing the new generation into horror. I feel like this movie had a big hand in doing, you know, that with Gen Z or whatever they're called. I adore this movie so much. I love it. I think the casting's great, the acting's great, the cinematography's great, the scare sequences are great. I think structure-wise, this is like a really, really, really good adaptation, and I just love me some fun horror, some fun funhouse horror, and I'm also a sucker. We all know that coming of age is one of my favorite subgenres, so this also has that aspect to it. It's like golden Stephen King. Like, this is what Stephen King is known for, so I think it's a blast. I really can't see how someone can at least have a good time with it. I mean, there's maybe some sequences where I wanted them to go a little bit hardcore with the horror, but that's really not what this movie wants to do. It wants to have fun. It wants you to really get attached to these characters and fall in love with the Losers Club, and I 100% did, and you want to see them, take down Pennywise. So I think coming at it from the gateway horror aspect, it's firing on all cylinders. But if you're gonna go to this for your, hardcore horror, this is obviously not the movie for you. But it's not trying to be that. It's trying to be a horror movie for everybody, not just for us sickos. So I adore this one so much, and I really, really love watching them both back to back.
I think this is pretty much the most accessible you can get for a rated R horror film. I mean, this really 100%. Is, like you said, it doesn't go overboard with the blood and guts, but it's got really dark themes. I mean, we start out with Georgie, obviously. I mean, that's probably as dark as it goes, because we literally see Georgie being killed and ripped off. And eaten alive. And there's blood, like, in the street. It starts off with a bang, but other than that, I mean, it's pretty, like you said, I don't like the term gateway personally. I don't really use it, but it is very accessible, especially as a rated R horror film. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't know if I got my history right, but I believe this kind of ushered in this crazy wave of like killer clowns in horror. It kind of fell off for a while, and I think this was the movie that really put killer clowns back on the map. I mean, you look now on like streaming services like on Tubi and like all the horror stuff. Every movie has a killer clown, it seems like, every slasher movie. So I think this really helped the clown industry for horror films, not the real clown industry, I'm sure, but I think this was
I
love
it. I love it. All the clown horror movies, I love it.
Yeah.
I also love how just Bill Skarsgård and Tim Curry, they're both so iconic and legendary, but I feel like Tim Curry had like so many iconic lines, and his like vocals and his like, I don't know, his theatrical performance is what won me over. But I feel like Bill Skarsgård, he has the voice down, but his like physicality is really what he goes for his version of Pennywise. So I love how they're both so different, but they're both equally, I mean, amazing, just in very different ways. So I love that Bill Skarsgård paid slight homage, but he was smart enough to be like, I can't be Tim Curry, I'm going to be my own version of this monster. I feel like that really benefited him a lot, because you don't want to be comparing him to, a 90s nostalgic icon nonstop. So I'm just happy that they both can thrive and be very different, but both succeed in each of the miniseries and the movie. So I love that.
I definitely think it's a different take. I mean, Bill's Pennywise is definitely more monster-like, whereas the original is kind of like the classic clown trope. So like if you're grew up afraid of clowns at birthday parties, like that's the one that'll probably get you more.
It's gonna get you.
Whereas this one is more of like a creature-esque type clown, but it's sinister in its own way. So I do like the different takes on it. What did you think about the overall pacing of the film? Its length, it's over 2 hours long, which is really long for especially a horror film. What did you think of just the pacing, the structure of everything?
I think it was great. I didn't feel the runtime in this, and to be honest, I didn't feel the runtime in Chapter 2 either, which we'll get to. Like you said, it's like 2 hours and 45 minutes. But I think that for an epic, horror movie like this, where you're covering so many bases and have so many characters, and it's like an adventure horror too, I think, much like we talked about with Jaws, like, you need to have a big runtime. But I think that Andy Muschietti was smart, where we have so much character development, but he doesn't forget that at its heart, this is just a fun house of horrors, and it's sprinkled out enough throughout the movie where we have so many scare set pieces where we're almost like equally having fun with the cute character moments and these kids bonding and the Pennywise and horror moments of it all. So I think it's really well balanced and really well paced. I find it really hard to critique the pace, even though it is over 2 hours, because I'm glued to the screen and entertained from start to finish.
Yeah, me personally, every time I watch this film, I'm just waiting for Pennywise to appear again. I'm just not that the other characters aren't amazing, but it's it's coming, and it comes frequently enough to where you're just kind of holding your breath, waiting for that next moment. You're always looking like in the background and stuff to see if he's stalking, kind of similar to Halloween in a way. I love what I love about the structure, I guess I'll say, of this film is, we talk about the kids and the friends group and how when they're together, they have this amazing chemistry. I like the structure of it, though, when they go their separate ways and they each have their own little set piece and their own introduction to Pennywise on their own. I think that's really effective. And so by the time Pennywise, I think the first big scene where they're all together and Pennywise really reveals himself is when they're in the garage and that whole sequence happens.
Yep.
They're already have their own little moments with him. So to see it all come together, I think is really effective.
I love that scene. So I love the individual scenes because, again, you get to see each kid's, individual fear and what Pennywise is going to target and take advantage of. But that scene in the garage, it's so... it's scary. It's goosebumps scary, but it's just so fun to see them all screaming like, how do we get him? So I think it's so much fun to see them all react to Pennywise together and them rely on each other. And I like you said about Pennywise, I love that, he's all over this movie, but he's not, in my opinion, he's not in it too much because you almost, like you said, feel like, is he lurking in the background? Or like the anticipation builds up between every scene that he's in. So I adore the amount of screen time that Bill Skarsgård had as Pennywise. I like that he's not in it nonstop, but I like that he's in it, quite a bit to where he's sprinkled out. And we all were like, Pennywise is back. It's fun every time we see him. We don't ever get tired of seeing Pennywise in this movie.
He's sprinkled in enough. To me, it's like, all right, he's back. I'm locked in for this scene because he's back.
Yeah,
I need to pay attention. Yeah. No, I think it's really effective that way.
And his freaking drooling and stuff when he's trying it's salivating over them. Like, oh, this is nasty. I love it. It's so good.
Stupid Georgie, man.
He's so dumb.
I scream
he's so dumb
every time. That's going to be a contender.
Such
for
a
me.
cute kid too. Oh, for sure.
That's like
he's
such
a cute. That's the moment of the entire.
They had to
movie.
pick the cutest kid, like the cutest.
I
kid
know
actor.
he's so good.
I know.
I met him. He was at one of the cons I went to, and he did the Yule float too, and he's so fucking good at doing a Yule float too. Yeah, he's so good. I love him.
Of our main cast, do you have any favorites? Do you have any favorite performances or favorite characters?
First of all, I think all the kids are fantastic. They're great. Their chemistry is off the charts. The casting department, A+. I think that Jack Dylan Grazer as Eddie is the scene stealer of this movie.
Okay.
Fucking hilarious and relatable. And I just love how he's such a germaphobe. And I howl and fall off my seat off some of his one-liners. But I think that other than that, I really think Beverly, she has some really emotional moments with her dad in this movie and very intense moments. And I think that actress, Sophia Lillis, she really, really does really good emotional and emotive work with her facial acting. I think she killed it. So I think they're the core anchors of the crew. But again, Jada Martell's fantastic. Finn Wolfhard's another hilarious scene stealer. And then Ben, who doesn't love Ben, you just want to give him a big hug the entire movie. And Wyatt, the kid who plays Stanley, you feel so much for him because he really is I don't want any part of this. I'm terrified. And unfortunately, in the third act, he's the one who really gets it bad by Pennywise. And I always get chills at the moment in the end. I know we're jumping around, but when he's screaming, you guys left me, you weren't supposed to leave me. And he's shouting out and so upset. So that always pulls at my heartstrings. So yeah, they're all great, but Jack Dylan Grazer and Sophia Lillis really really stick out to me. What about you?
Okay, interesting. I feel like I don't hear that enough. I feel like, Finn Wolfhard and as Richie, he's usually mentioned. Obviously, you have Beverly. I mean, it's hard. I like them all for different reasons. I do think.
Yeah.
I wish Mike was in the movie more and had more kind of scenes to kind of highlight. I think they make up for the fact that he's basically the main character in part 2. Mike, he's definitely the leader of the group in part 2, so I guess that kind of balances it out. But yeah, I would die for Ben. I just have such a soft spot for Ben.
Ben is such a...
Jeremy Ray Taylor plays such a great,
he's great,
empathetic kind of character where you really feel for him. His scenes with Beverly, it's oh man, we've all had that one crush in high school where it's you're too shy to say anything and you're just kind of starstruck by someone being nice to you. I feel like he's very relatable. I feel like we all had a little Ben in us as kids, where we kind of didn't really feel he's the new kid. He didn't really feel
he's the new kid on the block.
Belonged. Yeah, I know. I think they all did well. I really think.
Yeah,
it's hard for me to pick favorites. Richie's great because of him and Eddie, I think they kind of work well off of each other. Obviously,
we'll get to that connection, in part 2,
yeah,
for sure.
For sure. But even in this first movie, I mean, they're kind of a pair.
Oh, yeah.
I think one doesn't work without the other, and they kind of lean off each other's energy. So I think they really do well together in terms of chemistry. And yeah, they're all fantastic. Like you said, Sophia Lillis is Beverly. She probably has the most range in the film, I would say. With, like you said, with her scenes at her home and stuff, her home life, for sure. She's kind of misunderstood. She's getting picked on for being like the town whore when it's really like not true. So yeah, it's good. It's good. I mean, it's hard because you have a performance like Bill Skarsgård in the film, and it's like he's obviously my pick for like my favorite performance. But when it comes to the kids, I mean, they all hold their own. There's really no weak point. Like I said, the script maybe didn't do Mike justice too much, but he has his moments too with the fire and everything.
Yeah,
so
especially in the second act, or the second and third act, he really comes into play, obviously, more. I feel like if there's one complaint, it's that he's kind of not present for the first half of the movie, and then once he finally joins the group, he's good, but he doesn't really have a standout moment, I would say, like the other members of the group has. But the kid actor, whatever his name is again, Chosen Jacobs, I think he's really, really good. He's really good in the movie too. And once they all come together, they really play off each other well. And I mean, Jackson Robert Scott, that kid is so fucking good in like the couple scenes that he has, like that scene in the basement and the scene at the end of the movie, when I love how fucked up would it be at the end of the movie if it really was Georgie and Bill just shot him in the head. I always think about that. I'm like, you better be sure, dude, because if that's really Georgie, I always thought about, like, if they're gonna go really dark with this ending, they could do that. But I know they wouldn't. But I'm like, I always think about that. Like, what if that was the ending? But that kid does so good in every part of the movie. For someone who dies in the opening scene, I feel his presence throughout the whole movie because of Bill and Jaden Martell's, missing Joy the whole movie, but just because of that kid and what he did throughout this movie, he's so good.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Yeah. So what's like your favorite scary set piece in the whole film? Are you a big fan of the ending? Like, what is your like go-to?
I liked what you said about the different like scare pieces for them individually, but it's the most fun when they're together. I think the first time they go to the house on Niebolt Street, when they go into the house, I think it's just, I don't know, it's really funny to me because you have the Eddie sequence when Pennywise like contorts out of the friggin' thing and he like breaks his arm. It's just hilarious. And I love how you have I forget what two characters is it, Richie and Stanley, or I forget who, but it's like scary or not scary door to go in. I just love how they're all together in the house. You have Richie going into the room with all the clowns in that sequence. I feel like so much happens in that sequence. And you have Beverly being a badass when she stabs Pennywise in the head. I feel like so much is going on in that sequence. That might be my favorite. And then I do like the very ending because our losers fight back and they really, really go after Pennywise. And I just love how, what does Richie say? Like, we're gonna have to fuck this clown up. I just love it so much. And I just love how they're all really fighting their demons because he changes at the end to all the forms that he went after them individually. And I also love how that bully kid, he just gets freaking tossed down that friggin' well and he falls down that well. That's so good. He comes back into play in part 2, but that kid did get too. The sequence that of violence that really stood out to me the most besides the opening is when that kid, what the heck's, I don't remember, Henry Bowers, he stabs his dad in the throat because Pennywise on the TV and he says, kill him. I thought that was a really unsettling scene for this kind of movie. But yeah, I would say the Niebolt house and then the very end of the movie when they fight back. But also you have like that heartbreaking scene of Stanley. I think really once you get into the second act on, it's like banger after banger. It's fun, but it's also intense and just a funhouse ride.
Yeah, I agree. I like the ending a lot of this film. This is, between the two films, I prefer this ending to the ending in part 2. I don't... We'll get to part 2 when we get to it. But yeah, I think my favorite sequence, though, in terms of just like horror sequence, is... I don't know his name. I can't find it here. But it's one of the bullies, Henry's friend, where he goes into the sewer.
Patrick, I think his name.
Patrick,
name.
Yeah, and he's got the the kind of the lighter with the torch, like the man-made like the spray lighter, and he's like going
that's
through.
A cool
and
sequence.
Yeah, that's a really cool sequence in terms of like horror. I remember I was like on the edge of my seat. I'm like, oh, this guy's gonna get it. Like you knew he was probably gonna get it. You're just waiting
and he's
for
like
Pennywise.
In the sewers and tunnels and shit. It's really, really good. I like that sequence. And he dies. He gets taken in that sequence.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
that's a really, really good.
That was really cool.
When he sees like the dead bodies and the water, I think it's really, really cool. Like the zombie bodies, it's very awesome.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a good funhouse ride.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I mean, why don't we just wrap this one up with the ending?
Yeah.
So you fuck with the ending. Obviously, you think it ends.
I love the ending.
Well, how they kind of temporarily defeat it.
Yes, like I said again, the first time I was very nervous when Bill did that with Georgie, but I like how they all get to fight their own, quote unquote boogeyman, and then all together take down Pennywise. But he's not gone for good, and I like how they all promise and make that blood pact that promise if he comes back, we'll come back together and take him down. Obviously, this huge tease for part 2 27 years later. But yeah, I think it plays out really well. I think I see a lot of complaints where like it's CGI overload, and someone like me, like even in part 2, that's a complaint too. I'm usually the first to be like practical over CGI, but this is such like a out there, fun, crazy bananas, the 2 movies, that it doesn't bother me much because it's supposed to be kind of otherworldly with the Pennywise antics, so it doesn't really bother me as it would in like your typical slasher or whatever, your more straightforward horror versus like a funhouse of horrors where you kind of want it to be like kind of Beetlejuice all over the place. So it doesn't really bother me that much. But yeah, I think the ending is very, very well structured, and I would say the emotion of this ending hits you like with all of them, and I love it. I think they really, really played it out well.
I would say the only thing maybe I would change, if I'm being selfish about the ending, I guess that's kind of it's along the same lines as the CGI. I do wish that Pennywise kind of slowed down at first and kind of did some like creepy like stalking, like as Pennywise the clown,
like taunting a little bit,
taunting, and like not CGI Pennywise, just like straight up Bill Skarsgård just like fucking with these kids a little bit more, and like a little like ease into it a little bit, and then you can go with the zaniness of the CGI. So I do think it was a little heavy-handed kind of too quickly, but again, that's not what they were going for, so it's really hard for me to say like, oh, this is the way I would have did it, like, because I'm not the one making the film. So, but me personally, I think I would have liked maybe a little bit more of that, but the way it wraps up is almost perfect. Like I said, I prefer this ending of the 2. I love the blood pack scene. I think what makes this movie so endearing is, I mean, we're horror junkies, so we love the horror sequences, but it's the scenes with just all of them just being friends and just hanging out like at the lake and jumping off the cliff and stuff. I love those scenes just as much as I love the Pennywise scenes, and that's what 100%. Kind of wraps everything together. So to end it with the blood pact and everything, and kind of end it on a feel-good note, obviously we're going to get a chapter 2, but I think it wraps very well, and you can watch this just on its own. You don't need to watch chapter 2, and you can be satisfied.
Yeah, like you said, I think again, I'm a sucker for it, but the coming-of-age moments with our characters are just as important to the success of this movie as the horror, so that's what really brings all together. I think Andy Muschietti, he really did a good job with adapting this novel, because you can't get everything in. You have to change some stuff. There's some really freaky, weird stuff in the Stephen King novel that wouldn't be allowed in an R-rated movie, but I feel like what he adapted and took from the miniseries and the book, he did really well. It's hard to adapt novels, and he did a really good job for a mass audience, like 4-quadrant kind of like spook show horror movie.
For sure. I mean, it's a huge undertaking. He definitely stuck the landing. Okay, so 27 years goes by, and we get It Chapter 2. So we'll dive right into that, and then we'll kind of talk about that and talk about our overall thoughts for both movies, I guess. Why don't you go over the cast for this film?
Yeah, okay, so the IMDb synopsis is 27 years after their first encounter with the terrifying Pennywise, the Losers Club have grown up and moved away until a devastating phone call brings them back. Again, directed by Andy Muschietti, and damn, this cast. It stars Jessica Chastain as Beverly, James McAvoy as Bill Hader as Richie, Isaiah Mustafa as Mike, Jay Ryan as Ben, James Ransone as Eddie, Andy Bean as Stanley, and then obviously we have Bill Skarsgård back as Pennywise. And then we do have the whole cast that do appear in this movie as the younger selves again. And yeah, this is just a really, really, really good sequel that I can't wait to get into. This one, the first one killed it, obviously, like we just said. So this one got a huge budget, which you do see between the cast on the screen. So this budget is like massive for a horror movie. It was $79 million, but this one still grossed like $475 million worldwide. So still killed it. Like you said, it's very long and epic, so it didn't really make the blockbuster status as the OG, but it's still a smash, horror success. Still one of the highest grossing horror movies. So still did well. It was well received, but not as well received as the first one. I think there's a little more mixed reception on this one, but still overall, a success.
This was an ambitious sequel, part 2. I mean, they went for it. And I think they largely, in my eyes, nailed it. I don't think it's as perfect or as solid as Chapter 1. I think partly because it does have that longer runtime. You're going to run into some stuff that, like, the viewer will personally not agree with. It's just kind of like law of averages, I guess. But, man, when it gets things right, like, the things it gets right in this film are so good that it almost lets me ignore the stuff that I don't love about this film, if that makes sense. I mean, the highs are so high, and I'll start off right off the bat like you did with this cast. We talked a little bit before we started recording, but I mean, how did they pull this off? Do you know the behind the scenes of... So I'm assuming they cast the child actors first for part 1, and then they just based it off of them, and they found the adult equivalents, because holy shit, man. I mean, each and every kid grown up looks spot on. Even Ben, who lost all the weight, I still see it in his face. In Jay Ryan's face, looks just like Jeremy Ray Taylor. I'm like, how the fuck did they pull that off? And so not only did they nail the likeness, but they got amazing actors too. So it's like, it's not like they just got an actor just to look like the other actor, and they kind of were, not like they were being carried through the movie. Like, no, they all pulled their weight, and they all did fantastic of replicating the mannerisms of the children, but like a more mature version. And I love when they all get back together finally, and they kind of revert back, especially like Richie, like I said, Richie and Eddie, they revert back to those kind of kid-like banter and stuff. So it's just perfect.
I think that they didn't even cast, they didn't have anyone cast like until the first movie came out, but I just remember the build up. This like felt like, some like comic book freaks, like they do like the casting for all the superhero movies. I feel like we were all like, the horror crowd was like fan casting the adult characters forever. And I believe Jessica Chastain had a working relationship with Andy Muschietti already, because she starred in his first feature film Mama, which I also adore. So she really works with Beverly, so she got in. And then just the rest of the cast, I mean, I remember Bill Hader was fan cast as Richie, and he's Richie. I mean, the other actors are a little less known. James McAvoy, I don't believe he was fan cast, but he's great. But the other actors aren't as well known. Again, my standout boy, my Eddie, the adult actor, very Scott Derrickson, recruit is in this movie. He's in all Scott Derrickson movies.
He might be the best one in terms of likeness.
He's so fucking good. Like, he's so fucking good.
They're all amazing, but Eddie and James Ransone, is that how you say his last name?
Favorite. Ransone? Yep, he's my favorite.
He just
in this movie
completely nails it. It's like he was born to play the adult version of him.
So I would say, like what you were saying, the other one, they're all so great, the adult actors, but in my opinion, the two stand out in scenes. Again, they're all great, amazing, but Bill Hader and James Ransone are my favorite. In Chapter 2, for sure. Again, Jessica Chastain with her emotion and her chemistry with Jay Ryan, who played Ben, was great. And James McAvoy, he's always awesome. Again, Mike, the guy who played Mike, he's the Old Spice guy from the commercials. He was great in this
Isaiah
one.
Mustafa.
Yeah, he's the guy who did the Old Spice commercials. Yeah. Everyone's great, but Bill Hader and James Ransone really, really, really brought it and really stuck out to me. But I get over thoughts. I'm a sucker for Chapter 2s, and I'm gonna be in the minority. I slightly prefer Chapter 2 over Chapter 1, which is crazy to so many because everyone's like, it's Chapter 1 purist. But I think where Chapter 1 has a better structure, overall, and it is structurally a better movie. Chapter 2 is just so bananas, and it really goes for broke and goes all out. And I think it concludes the story of these characters so well, and I get the emotion at the end, and I love like a conclusion to a story where this one has the funhouse craziness like times 10 compared to the first, but it also still has the emotion because we grew with these characters from part 1. We get to see what those little kids turned into as adults, and some didn't turn out well, some that turned out good, and at the end they all are forced together to revert back to their, you know, childlike relationship they had with each other just to defeat this clown once and for all. And I just love the emotion and the story arc of this one mixed with the go for broke crazy funhouse set pieces times 10. So that's why I slightly prefer this one, just because it really goes for it, whereas the first one I would say is a better movie story wise and structure overall. This one just really, really does it for me. I love it.
Yeah, that's a tricky one for me because I could go either way with it because, like I said before, Chapter 2, when it's firing on all cylinders, some of these sequences are just amazing, but it also has more problems than the first part for me personally. I think I would go with part 1, and that kind of makes sense for us. I'm always a part 1 guy, you're a part 2 guy. Yeah. I think part 1 is just a better built movie. It's more solid. It doesn't have the ebbs and flows that Chapter 2 does, but damn, I mean, the highs of Chapter 2 blow away Chapter 1. I will admit that. I think the deciding factor for me is I don't love this ending. Like, I like the ending.
Like the fight with Pennywise, or like the very just
we'll get to it. Yeah, the fight. Yeah, like the whole ending sequence, almost like the whole. Yeah, I would say last half hour of the film. I'm not a fan of it. It's fine. It works. Like it's okay. I think they went a little too safe though, but we can get into that. But if it stuck the landing, it would definitely be my favorite. I think that's maybe the deciding factor. But yeah, I mean, some of the sequences, we talk about horror sequences from part 1. Part 2 brings it, bro. I mean, the mirror sequence, the sequence under the bleachers, which might be my favorite in the entire, both parts.
That's a good jolt out of your seat sequence, too.
He looks so sinister in that, in the shadows and stuff. I mean, that's what I wanted more of. Like, I guess maybe in part 1 at the end. I wanted more of that in general. So to get that here, some of the like the Bill Hader Richie sequence in the park was really creepy with all the balloons and stuff. I mean, yeah, the sequences themselves are definitely better in Chapter 2, but like I said, it's so ambitious, so it's hard for me to knock some of this movie because I'm really glad that they just went for it. But I kind of wish they went for it more with the ending. But we'll get into that in a little while.
Yeah. I love the one scene that stands out to me is with Jessica Chastain, where she's like trapped in like, I don't know, she's like otherworldly, but she's in like this hallway, and you see like Pennywise, but it's Bill Skarsgård. He looks like Bill Skarsgård, and then he just starts like scratching his face, and the blood and everything comes pouring out. It's like he literally starts poking his eyes out. I'm like, this is horror goodness. I love it so much. That might be to me like, whoa, they're really going for it in this one. I love that so much, but there's so many sequences where I can't even, like, off the top of my head, I'm like, this movie is just filled, because it's almost 3 hours, just filled with ambitious fucking horror, you know, jump scare, funhouse scares. And I'm like, I feel like I'm on, in a good way, I feel like I'm going through like a haunted walkthrough or like a haunted ride attraction of this one. I literally feel like I'm on one. And I love that about this one. That's why I love it so much. And I like the character moments. Again, I'm an adult, so obviously I was a kid, so I can look back at the first one and really, you know, have fond nostalgia and memories for that. But this one, we're adults, so I really connected with the characters. And, you know, I think the ending, whereas I agree with you, I think that the CGI is a little bit too much in the ending of this one. Again, I give it a pass. But the way, I think maybe what you're talking about is the way they defeat him is a little lackluster. You know, pretty much just calling him names, which, again, that's how this movie worked the time they did in the first one. But the very ending with the emotion of our loser club, you know, walking out -1 who gets taken out, and -2 if you count what happens before they even go back. It really tugs on my heartstrings. I remember the ending of this one always gets me emotional because of them.
Yeah, it's when you talk about the structure of this film, it's so complicated, my feelings, because on one hand, they pretty much follow the structure of part one, where they all kind of go their separate ways. Yeah. They all have their own set piece again. It's like, okay, we've seen this before. But in the other hand, it does it better than part one, I think. Like, the sequences are actually better. So I mean, Jessica Chastain as Beverly, when she's in the old woman's house, I mean, that's I love that. Legendary. I mean, people were freaking out in the theater. Everyone hates creepy old ladies for some reason in horror.
She blows up huge and she's it's so good.
I mean, I remember when the trailer came out, and that was highlighted in the trailer, the old woman.
Yeah,
and, the creepy
that
smiling
was the teaser trailer.
In the background.
Yep.
With Beverly in the foreground. I mean, that was hooked people.
Everyone,
right
she's
there.
Like naked and like running in the background. Like, what the fuck was that?
That's an example of just Andy just having so much fun with this film in particular, and just kind of going for it. And I wish there was more of that throughout the film, especially the ending. But yeah, it's like I'm very conflicted because it's like he definitely structured the movie pretty much identical to the first film, and then added a little bit of stuff. But in terms of execution, it's actually executed better, which is insane because part one's execution is so solid, but the sequences in this film are so much more memorable, at least to me, that it's really hard to knock it.
I would say like love or hate, like love. I don't think anyone. I think people online again are performative. I don't think anyone hates it, but love it or like say it didn't work for you. You can't just say that he goes for the kookiness of this concept and of like what Pennywise is. So if you can't just give him credit for like how crazy and over the top he goes and how the cast is so game for it, like you have A-list actors like in a movie with like an eyeball popping out of a fortune cookie, like calling across the tail. Like, this is fun. This is like hilarious fun with some. I mean, the opening scene is very mean in chapter 2 when you have that couple. They're like beaten and assaulted, and then Pennywise takes advantage of that and literally kills the one guy in front of. I mean, it's very mean opening. So they do have, I would say overall, they have funhouse scares, but it does have also like darker moments trickling down. Like, oh wow, I'm surprised they're doing that in this kind of movie. I remember the opening scene. I'm like, oh, this is really mean and dark.
Yeah, and they show our two kids being killed too. I mean, like I said, the bleacher scene, and then you have the bleacher scene. The one skateboarder kid who Bill watches die, who he had like a connection from the Chinese restaurant, and then he ran into him a couple times.
It was cute.
So he was like a cute little side character, and then he was like, you knew something was gonna happen to him, and they're like, holy shit, like they're going for it, like right in front of Bill.
I love Pennywise's face in the mirror maze when he just like hits his head on the wall. That is a fucking amazing scene. And the one with the little girl, I love. I know the structure of this one's a mess overall, but I love how that scene is structured because he's just kind of like, oh, like poor girl, you have something on your face like me. She has like the birthmark or whatever, and then he's like, come closer and we'll count to 3. And I just love. It got me because he only goes to 2. And then he eats her. I jumped in that sequence. I'm like, holy shit, he just fucking killed this girl. This is amazing. Like, this is crazy. I love it so much. It's so messed up. And to what you were saying about the ending, I love how, the run-on joke in this movie and the run-on joke with Stephen King novels is that he doesn't always quite hit it with his endings. And there's a lot of jokes and spoofs in this one about, like, not being able to land an ending. Bill in the open. So they play around with that, notion in the movie, which I think is
funny.
And
he's in it, too. Stephen King's a good sport.
He is.
He's in the film.
He sells the silver bullet.
Yeah.
I love that.
So this may be controversial opinion, but I want to talk about the themes that they explore of grief and PTSD and tragedy. Me, personally, I love what they did up until a point, and I think it got severely heavy-handed. I was watching it with my wife, a rewatch last week in preparation for this, and I remember going to her at one point. It's like, all right, we get it. Like, Georgie's dead. Like, he's, like, how many times, like, I feel like little too much, especially with Bill and Georgie, and Bill kind of struggling with the fact that his brother died so young. They like almost hit it over the head too many times to the audience, and it's like, okay, we get it. Like, we don't need to see so many sequences and so many things play out for us to realize that he's traumatized. What did you think of how they handled? Because I like the themes themselves, and I'm glad they explored those, but I do think I wish it was a little bit more subtle, and they didn't, like, I guess, treat the audience like we needed reminders every freaking 15 minutes.
I think maybe Bill was heavy-handed, but I do. I mean, again, it's always Bill and Georgie, Bill and Georgie. I think that you might be right. Where overall, like throughout, it's like okay, you don't need it all the time. But the scene with when you do get fucking that little actor who's playing Georgie come back when he's like screaming like "You lied and I died, you lied." I'm like, oh, that scene is fucking A+. But overall, the other characters, I feel like I love how you see that Eddie is still like he's an adult version of his younger self. He's still the germaphobe. He has the mommy issues. He married someone who looks exactly like his mom. The actress is actually the same actress who played his mom in the first one. So I like how you have that. Beverly escaped her abusive dad, but she ended up in an abusive relationship. I feel like that is really well done.
Yeah.
But on the flip side, the one thing I love this movie so much, and I prefer it slightly, the one thing that bums me out is you have a character like Stanley, who I said really went through a lot of trauma in the first one in his ending, and I do feel like, and I feel bad for the actor. I knew that, like, obviously, if you know the story, he never makes it back to Derry, but I feel like we needed a little more of his character before he did what he did to himself. I feel like he was really like a 2-minute. Like he was on screen for 2 minutes tops. I feel like I wanted to see his PTSD a tiny bit more before he decided I can't go back and I have to just go in the bathtub and take myself out because I'm too scared to go do what I said I would do. I wish we got to see his adult torment because that is such an important part. And when the rest of our crew finds out, like, it's horrible that Stanley took himself out. I think that I wanted to feel that emotion more, but I couldn't as much because I didn't really see adult Stanley much at all. So I feel like that was almost a wasted opportunity to really go. Maybe they didn't want to go that mean and dark because that sequence is already like very mean and dark for this kind of movie, but I needed to see a little bit more of the effects of Stanley, whereas maybe we could have taken a couple scenes of Bill like doing the same Bill thing out and just go to Stanley instead before he was, taken out.
I would agree with that. I think it would have helped definitely if he met up with one of them before they went to Derry and they had just maybe one scene together. Like if Bill visited him, like they still stayed in touch or something. Yeah, I understand why they did it because it was for dramatic effect for the ending of the film because you get the big reveal with the letter. So that works. Mm-hmm. Well, so I guess they were trying to keep their cards close. Yeah, but I would agree with you. I think they could have balanced it out a little bit more. But yeah, it just in terms of just piggybacking off what you said with the different characters and the themes, Bill's definitely heavy-handed. I think this is like a microcosm of the movie. The film itself for me is like when it works, it really works, but when it doesn't work, I really have a problem with it. Like Ricky's story really gets me, and how like he has internal struggle and stuff. I mean, that's played beautifully. And Bill Hader, give him all the flowers. So he's my favorite, I think, performance in this film. He has so many layers to him because he's that jokester class clown like exterior. He's a stand-up comic as an adult, but he really has a lot of pain and struggle. And his serious scenes in this film are really well done.
Break my heart.
I really want to see him in more dramatic roles.
Yeah,
and horror too. I love him. I love him in horror. He's so good. But yeah, I think particularly Beverly in this movie. I hate to say it because Jessica Chastain is amazing. Again, they beat us over the head a little too hard, kind of similar to Bill with her stuff. I liked all of her stuff in part 1 as a kid. Like, it worked. Yeah. But, like, now we're in part 2. It's like, you can remind us, but I feel like it was just a little too much.
Do you think that does the heavy-handedness for you equate to them going to, like, flashbacks too much? You think we should have just stayed with them as adults the whole movie and not be present, and have more time with them adults? Like, does that lead to the heavy, or do you think it was cute and nostalgic and led to the emotion of the ending of the movie that we did flashback to see those younger kids again?
I love the flashbacks. I think the flashbacks are great.
Because a lot of people's complaints were like they didn't want flashbacks. Like,
I don't. Fuck those people. I love the flashbacks. I think the structure. I think because it's structured so similarly and they go their separate ways again, and it's like they're dealing with their fears again. The sequences themselves are really well done, but it's like I'm already kind of slouched in my couch like, okay, here we go again. And then it's like, all right, you're going to bring up the same themes again. I think
Right.
pairing those two together, it's so similar that it feels a little too heavy-handed. But no, the flashback scenes I love. I eat it up because the kids are so good. And it wouldn't work so much if they didn't cast the adults so perfectly. But the when they go back and forth between them and the kids, it's so
the
seamless.
same person.
Yeah.
It's crazy. I love it so much. I love the line again. Bill Hader, he has so many hilarious moments, but then like you said, you get the emotion. I love when they show up at the Chinese restaurant and he sees Ben and Beverly. He's like, "Damn, you two are hot. What the fuck happened to me?" And I just love his his one-liners are so good.
Yeah,
it's so
Your
good.
typical
But like you said, he's like hurting so much on the inside. That's just how he's
I know.
dealing with it. It's so good. It's so freaking good. I love the one-liners in this too. They're like there's definitely fist bump and cheer moments in this one too. Like yes, fucking get him.
Yeah. So we didn't really talk much about him for good reason in part one, but Mike's character,
he's
he
the
takes
reason they come back.
Center stage in this film. I mean, he's pretty much Bill was very much the leader in part one. I would argue to say that Mike was the leader in this film. Not only does he get them together, he kind of shows Bill he gives him the herbs and shows him the dream sequence with the Native Americans. And
how do you feel about that sequence?
They look to him with all the answers. They're like, all right, what do we do next, Mike? What do we do next? And he's always has an answer. It turns out that he was kind of bullshitting most of it, and he just wanted to kind of get him into the sewers again. But yeah, he kind of takes center stage. You asked how I felt about the Native Americans. I thought that was really cool. I thought that was a cool little. I'm always a lore guy. I like it anytime we can get lore on like villains and stuff without overdoing it. I think it's really well done. I think the fact that Mike doesn't really know, but he kind of comes on like he knows all the answers, I think is really effective because it leaves that mystery of, what really is this thing? Like, okay, it came from the sky, it must be an alien, but he doesn't really know how to defeat it, but he's very confident. I think it's cool. I think it's anytime you get something like that where it's like it's been around for hundreds of years and it's this force. We didn't even talk about the whole kind of mythology of it all, how people grow up in Derry and then they leave the town and like his powers make them forget their childhood, and that's what kind of lets him come back every 27 years because nobody's looking for him by then. I think that's a really cool and effective way. I don't know if that's in the book or not, but that's a really cool and effective way to kind of make it so he's able to do this for so long.
I love the lore of it. It's just so lore heavy, and like I don't know, I just love the story and like the mystery of like Pennywise. They really go back like the history in this one, how they do the history in the first one with Ben, but they really like you actually see little tidbits like when he looks at his human self, that was a form of Pennywise back in the day. And I'm just to wrap it, bring in the news sheet a little bit. I was really bummed initially that Welcome to Derry was a series. I'm like, I want, me, I'm like a movie theater, a theatrical guy, I want to see it, but I almost am really excited because now I realize I get to live in the atmosphere and the vibe of Derry over, I don't know if it's 6 or 8 episodes, but for, 6 to 8 hours versus, 2 to 3 hours. So we really get to live in it and feel it more in this prequel. So I'm really pumped about that.
Yeah, I'm pumped too. I think it's really effective. The fact that like Pennywise, the clown, it was this normal dude that lived in Derry, and he took his likeness and is now using it to scare all of these generations of kids is like so fucked up. It's like this guy's life's work is now turned into this villain. I think is really cool. Yeah, I think it's well done. Let's get to the ending though. I really interested to hear how you feel of the ending. So just my overall thoughts on it. I don't mind, similar to part one, the zaniness, the wackiness, the CGI. I think that's fine. Again, I don't prefer it to like more of a slow burn. I think it would have been a little bit more thematically on brand for this film if it was slowed down and it had darker tones, because we're dealing with so many emotions from these adults that are dealing with trauma from their childhood. So I do think when it goes in that zaniness direction, it does feel a little bit more out of place as opposed to part one. But I'm all for it. I mean, because it does fit the tone of all the other sequences before it. So it's fine. I just don't think it sticks the landing. I'm sorry. I think it's very similar in structure to the first film, how they kind of all have to battle their demon and then they all come together and they all literally bully this thing out of existence. I just think it's a little too anticlimactic. I wanted it a little bit more of a battle. What did you think?
I kind of adore it. It's very Goosebumps-esque. I just like how it takes the adult characters to go on their individual journeys to remember what happened and how they beat him and overcame him the first time. And again, unfortunately, how in this ending, how Richie is made like catatonic by Pennywise and by it. And Eddie saves him, but poor Eddie, my favorite character, he's fatally impaled, but he tells the group before he dies that in his, sequence earlier, he like choked the leper, which was his fear to death, and made it feel small. So that gives them the courage to confront, it and Pennywise and overcome their fear and talk down to him and make him feel small and have no control over them. So I think thematically it works, but the visualization and the execution is maybe where, for many people, maybe even you, it slightly lacks. But thematically, I get what they're going for. It's just like maybe in the moment, the way it plays out could have been a little more, I don't know, fine-tuned. But I don't have a problem with it because I like the kookiness and the Goosebump Monster Squad-esque of it all. So to me, it works, but I can see how other people are like, oh, that's how we're taking down this horror icon. So I get both sides, but I'm here for the protagonists, and I really like how their story came out of it, whereas I feel like maybe Pennywise should have went out on a little bit of a higher note, and again, maybe put up a little more fight. Even though he took one of them out, maybe, like you said, he could have come back to his form and maybe stalk the adults and be a little more vicious because they're adults, so he can be a little more violent in this one. Maybe get some, like, slicing and stabbing and really, like, face-to-face taunting before they get to that. That maybe would have helped more people, but overall, what they were going for, I understood, so I was okay with it. But maybe they should have been a little more vicious because they were adults. I think
it would have worked perfectly if they did the reverse of what I wanted in part one. So I said in part one, I wish it was more stalking and building up to the zaniness. It would have been awesome if they started with the zaniness like they did, and then, like you said, maybe he loses his powers and he can't shapeshift anymore, and he's stuck as normal Pennywise, and now he's just stalking these kids as this normal clown. And it's like a very kind of mean ending where it's like almost like a slasher film where he's stalking them. I think that would have been cool, and maybe, like you said, visually it would have fit, especially with Eddie's death. I mean, it's so heartbreaking and it's so sad. I mean, you feel for him. He's such a standout actor in this film, and him and Richie's relationship and what Richie's going through in his own kind of personal journey. It's so heartbreaking. Again, I just feel like I wish it wasn't in the middle of all of this freaking Goosebumps stuff. It's like kind of I wish it fit more like in like a darker tone. So yeah, I mean, I almost wish they did this in part one where they just like made it really small and deflated it. I know they kind of did in part one in a different way.
They did. This would have been
this would have been a great way to kind of, for the kids to kind of take control and like bully Pennywise because they're little kids and they need to like grow confidence, and it would have been cool to see this scene. But it's kind of weird to see like grown men and women like
yelling down
doing it, like yelling at him like, oh, you're nothing, you're small. It's like, okay, like this would make sense if they were kids still. But it's like, I don't know, it's a little
It worked for me, but I get where a lot of people say maybe in this one like they could have literally like ripped him apart, literally, because they're adults. Like get something more. But again, it works for me. It's cheesy and hokey, but that's what these movies are. So I get what you're saying, but
like it didn't big bother celestial me. Power that's like he calls himself a world eater. And
I love that.
It's like, I guess the term sticks and stones doesn't apply to him because words really did destroy him. Yeah. But like the three orbs, like the whole lore of the three orbs. It would have been cool if like they had to gather the three orbs and like destroy them or something like epic like that. And I just, I was definitely let down.
I think that the moment of the ending is them walking out together and like seeing the reflection of them younger selves and them having to deal with the lost and moving on. That's what really hits me about the ending.
Oh yeah, that stuff's
even
great.
More so than the Pennywise of it all.
Yeah. I agree with you there for sure. like I said, all the character moments in and of themselves are fine. The Eddie death is super sad. I love how they see the reflection and Stanley's with them, like younger Stanley,
They're
like the whole
together.
Group's back together. It's like, oh man,
It gets me.
It's
It gets
very
me in the feels.
It's a very cathartic
time.
and way to end and wrap both movies, like the very end for sure.
What do you think about? So you talked about the note, and I think it's very touching that obviously that's never the answer, but in Stanley's eyes, his suicide was intended to strengthen them, so he didn't weaken the group to defeat him. I thought that was heartbreaking but touching, and I love how it ends with him saying we're losers and we always will be. I'm like, oh, this movie knows how to get me in the feels. It's coming of age part, but I really think the ending is what really punches me in the gut and gets me in the feel. You have the Rich, putting the initials of him and Eddie, carving it in. You have Ben and Beverly together. Bill's doing his thing. I just really think that it was such a good full arc for these characters.
Yeah, I agree. I thought the note was fine. I mean, it's not the direction I would have went. I see what they were going for in terms of they're trying to explain it as him being almost like a hero, like he was sacrificing himself because he knew he didn't have the strength to go. I don't love it, but it's impactful in the moment. It definitely gets you in the feels.
Oh,
yeah.
Obviously, he wasn't in the right. He shouldn't have done that, but I get where.
Yeah, I wish they explored more.
Headspace.
Again, it would have been so much more beneficial if we had a couple extra scenes with his character. They could have shown that he's not doing well. He's
my
got
biggest
mental health
nitpick
issues, and
of the movie. I think
it seemed like he was doing fine for himself. He had this big house, and he had a wife, and he said he wasn't down on his luck or anything. But we don't really know what was going on in his mind, other than the letter. So I wish we got a little bit more layers, and maybe that would have been
did that
more
phone
effective.
call trigger his memories and fear, and that's what or was he dealing with the trauma the whole time and putting on a happy face? I wanted to dive in. That poor actor, I feel so bad for him.
Everything.
I feel so bad for that actor.
Yeah, he remembered everything. Was he still in Derry? Did he not move away? Why? What's going on?
I think maybe his trauma was so hardcore he didn't remember the specifics, but he I don't know, flooded back to. But again, I wanted to see that before I know he was no more. So that's my biggest nitpick of the movie is Stanley needed more depth.
Yeah, that's fair. Okay. All right. That wraps up it. Chapter 2. I guess we'll get to our never split up moments now, and then we'll do our scores for each movie. Why don't you? I'll let you go first for your moment, if you got one.
I mean, the moment of both. I mean, it's going to be. I mean, I know I'll take Georgie, but if you don't have another one, you could take it. But it would be the Georgie opening of him literally going towards Pennywise in the sewer, and not leaving. But I feel like the other two, there are other ones. I don't know why Ben goes in the basement in the library. That's stupid. But I feel like. At the moment, that gets me. But I feel I was trying to think of one from Chapter 2 in case you went first into the Georgia one. But I feel like everyone does their mission, what they're supposed to in Chapter 2. I feel like it has to be Georgia. That's the moment of both movies. So if you don't have one, you could take it, but that would be mine. But all my moments are from Chapter 1, I feel like.
Yeah, I feel like my moments are from Chapter 1, too. I think the big moment for me, other than Georgie, you can take the Georgie moment, is when they go back to the house at the end of the film and they're on a mission. They know what they have to do. Actually, no, I'm going to go with Chapter 2, actually, because I feel actually more in Chapter 2 because they're adults now. They've been through this. They remember everything at this point. They go back to the house. They know exactly where the well is in the house. They know what they have to do. They know they have to go into the well and defeat Pennywise, right? So what do? They go into the house and they start searching rooms,
exploring around,
and splitting out,
scary, not scary rooms.
Exploring. Yeah. It's why are we exploring? If this was real life, we'd just beeline right to the well, get our fucking job done, and then get the fuck out. So I'm going to go with that. That moment always pisses me off.
Their memories took them over. They were being dummies.
What are we doing with this horror trope? It's we've been here before. We know what we have to do. Why are we exploring?
Let's get the mission done.
We've never been here. I know, yeah.
I'm happy that you did Chapter 2 because I'm really trying to think of a Chapter 2 one just in case. But that's good that we both have one from each movie.
Yeah, because then obviously they get locked in the rooms and split up, and it's that's damn it,
and that's smart because you have the we're dumb kid. What are you doing in part 1? Then you're adults you know better than this. What are you doing in part 2? Yeah. So I feel like those are two really good ones.
Yeah. Okay, great. Let's get to our scores. So we'll start with Chapter 1 first. I'll let you go first. Go ahead.
Yeah, these both are very important to me. Chapter 1, I think, is a really, like I said, I know you don't like, but I think it's a great gateway horror. It really ushered in a new wave of gateway horror. We have The Clown in the Cornfield that came out this year. I think is also a great slasher gateway horror. I just think that this is Stephen King adaptation at its almost best. It's not the most terrifying thing you'll ever see, but it's a movie that you can take your kids to and watch them jump and get scared and cover their eyes and laugh and have fun with the kid. It's just a really good communal experience kind of horror movie, and I have a soft spot for those. It's a popcorn horror. I love my popcorn horror just as much as I like my mean and bleak horror. I think the acting is great, the directing is great, slight CGI, but whatever, this is a fun house of horrors, so I buy it. I maybe wanted Pennywise to be a little more mean and have a couple more dark moments, but overall, this is a banger of a movie, and I love how it's so different from the miniseries, so it let the miniseries had its iconic status and its iconic scenes, and this one did its own thing while paying homage. So I'm gonna give this one an 8.5. I really, really enjoy this movie, and I enjoy this new iteration of it, and I love that, you know, this timeline is gonna continue with the new series coming up. So I adore it. I really, really think this was, you know, it earned its spot as one of the highest grossing horror movies of all time. And I just can't wait. Like, if I had a kid, I'd be like, I can't wait to show them it in It Chapter 2. I think it's really good. I love it.
Great. I think we feel very similar about this film. We didn't even really touch on it, but like Derry, Maine in this film is such a comfort. Like, I want to move there.
Yeah.
I want to live there.
Yeah, exactly.
It's. I think that's why it's so rewatchable for me. One of the big reasons. Again, it's how you do a remake. It's connecting to the original material, but bringing it into the new light for new generations and doing your own twist on it. And yeah, they just nailed it. I'm going to give this an 8.7. 8.7. So I'm right there with you, man.
Awesome.
Okay, so It Chapter 2. You can go first again. Go ahead.
Yeah. I can't help it. I guess the curse continues at my part twos. I absolutely adore. I feel like I almost come to this movie's defense whenever I see something. I'm like, guys, this is fucking bad. They're like, he killed it with Chapter 1, but Chapter 2 was real. I'm like, it's not a downgrade. If it's not for you as much, that's one thing. But this movie's fucking bananas bonkers. I fucking love me a bonkers movie. I agree with, like, as we talked about it, I kind of agree where, you know, like what you said, the highs are the highest of these two movies. But the cracks and the messiness are also, like, you know, way messier than anything in the first one. So I get that. But I feel like the balance for me, it's like, I'll take the messiness when I have all these epic, like, crazy set pieces. And these adult actors, like, playing off each other so well and making me laugh one scene and then being on the verge of tears in some scenes. I'm like, this is crazy that this movie's having this effect on me. So I love it. I don't think that I feel the runtime. I know people like 3 hour It movie. I'm like, hell yeah, like 3 hour It movie to wrap up the story. I'm obsessed with it. I think it brought the emotions. Again, I wish I had more Stanley so I could feel the impact of that death like they wanted us to. I wanted to feel it as much as the characters felt it in the moment. But other than that, I really think Andy Muschietti like has his stamp on fun house, fun horror, and I really want him. I know he's gotten into like the DC of it all with Warner Brothers, but I really think Warner Brothers has a good like popcorn horror vibe between The Conjuring and this, and I want him to do maybe, it doesn't have to be in it, but I know he's actually directing episodes of the series, so I can't wait to check that out. But I want him to do like another fun, like original horror for the studio, and I just love him and I love what he's doing. I didn't see The Flash, so I can't comment on any of that, but I think that overall, he's a really great director that maybe you can reel him in a tiny bit with the CGI. He would really make like an A++, but I love this one for the emotion and horror and bananas and Pennywise and adult actors of it all. So I'm gonna give this one an 8.7. It really sticks with me. And the first time I left the theater, I was like, fuck yeah. I love it, Chapter 2. So I love this one. I love them both.
I think maybe he should go back to horror. I don't think The Flash might be the worst superhero movie
I didn't
I've
see
ever
it,
seen.
so I can't comment.
Much.
Yeah.
It's talk about CGI and just corniness. It's not.
Yeah,
good,
I've heard. Yeah,
I would love because Mama. I don't maybe not like it as much as you. I do think that's a really
it's a
cool,
good like fairy tale horror,
cool original horror. Yeah, it would be cool to see him come back to the genre, maybe tone it down a bit. But yeah, part 2. You said it best. Kind of. I wish that like if we got the highs we got in part 2 in part 1 would be like an all-timer for me. So yeah. I'm not saying I would combine the films because I do like both of them for different reasons, and I do enjoy and appreciate 5 hours of being in Derry, Maine. I mean, that's it's great. It's awesome. I'm also a defender of this film. I think it gets overhated too much. I mean, you just look at the cast alone and the performances and how they were able to nail that alone. That deserves merit in and of itself. I think it feels very connected. It doesn't feel like, because they didn't film this at the same time, it feels like they did film it at the same time with the same crew and everything, and that's very important for a story that's so connected to the first film. Obviously, you have the flashbacks and everything. So that's, I think, a strength of this film. Like you said, and like I said earlier, the cracks are definitely deeper in this film, but it's hard for me to knock it too much because, like I said, they just swung for the fences with this film, and they largely hit on a lot of it. So it's tough. If the ending wasn't so disappointing for me, I think this would be up here, there, close to a 9. But because the ending, it just leaves me wanting more, especially after almost 3 hours runtime. I just wanted more of a climax. I'm going to have to give this closer to like an 8. I'll give it like an 8.2.
Oh, good. So it's still, they're kind of comparable for you too, these two movies.
Yeah, they are. Yeah.
Oh, that was fun.
It's hard. It's hard to separate them by that much.
Yeah, because they do feel so connected. Yeah, like you were saying, I like that. Well, I'm excited to get back to the world of Derry with Welcome to Derry, and I'm excited to eventually cover the Tim Curry miniseries and talk about those differences. Yeah, so we have a lot more in this world. Yeah, we skip that over. Usually we'll cover the first, but we skip that over because Welcome to Derry, obviously, Bill Skarsgård's returning, and we're going to get more of him, so that's going to be really fun. So yeah, this was a great episode. I'm glad we combined these two. I think this was fun. And anything else before we wrap up? Oh, why don't you announce our Halloween week episode? Oh, yeah. We've announced it, I think, in previous episodes, but why don't you give the viewers a reminder? I'm really excited to record that one. Me too. Yeah, guys, so we are really celebrating Halloween next week with a banger. We're going to have on recurring guest Oriana in the show. We love her. Everybody loves her. She's great. I feel like we have a good dynamic with her. And us 3 are each going to rank, you know how I feel about my rankings. It's going to give me anxiety, but we're each going to rank our top 10 favorite horror remakes. So that's going to be a huge episode. I know people are very, very, very sensitive and particular about the remakes, so give us your list too. Don't come after us, but it's going to be a fun episode. I can't wait to see all our different tastes because we're going to end up tackling a lot of different remakes, I have a feeling.
Yes, definitely can't wait for that. That's going to be released Halloween week, just before Halloween, so look out for that. Again, thanks everyone for tuning in. Check out our 100th episode, Hereditary. Check out Halloween Kills before that. Those were 2 really great episodes. And we'll see you next time, guys. See you later. Bye.